An American journalist has become the first casualty in a new war against the United States. The war was declared by the Sunni Muslim terrorist group known as ISIS in retaliation for U.S. airstrikes against ISIS targets in Iraq. Yesterday, ISIS posted online video of the cold-blooded beheading of 40-year-old James Foley, who was abducted in Syria nearly 2 years ago. Today, President Obama interrupted his Martha's Vineyard vacation to honor Foley and condemn his killers as, quote, a cancer. The president rarely shows anger in public, but he made no attempt to hide it today.
Jim was a journalist, a son, a brother, and a friend. He reported from difficult and dangerous places, bearing witness to the lives of people a world away. Now, Jim Foley's life stands in stark contrast to his killers. Let's be clear about ISIL. They have rampaged across cities and villages, killing innocent, unarmed civilians in cowardly acts of violence. No just God would stand for what they did yesterday and what they do every single day. ISIL has no ideology of any value to human beings. Their ideology is bankrupt.
Today, U.S. forces pressed those airstrikes against ISIS despite its threats to kill another kidnapped American journalist, Steven Sotloff. ISIS stands for Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. The president uses an alternative acronym ISIL, for Islamic State in Iraq and the Levant, Levant being an old name for Syria and Lebanon. Holly Williams has more about ISIS goals and tactics.
You have been at the forefront.
In the gruesome video showing James Foley's murder, his executioner speaks with a British accent.
This is James Wright Foley, an American citizen of your country.
To recruit more young Muslims from the West, ISIS released this propaganda video in June featuring 3 British men who encouraged others to join them and sacrifice their lives for Islam.
Look around you while you sit in comfort and ask yourself, is this how you want to die?
In a violent rampage beginning 2 months ago, ISIS extended its territory from Syria into northern Iraq. It rules with brutality and fear, publicly executing those who offend its strict version of Islamic law. What makes ISIS unusual as a terror group is the ambition of its leaders. In the land they control, they've set up what they call an Islamic State, and now they're busy making the money they need to fund it. This video from Syria shows an ISIS fighter policing a local market. The group levies taxes and even sells gasoline and electricity. US officials say ISIS is now self-sustaining and is probably making tens of millions of dollars with criminal activities like extortion and smuggling. In a Turkish town just across the border from Syria, we met Dilal Omar Ali, who's fought against the Islamic militants in Syria's chaotic civil war. They have more money than we do, he told us, and they also have better guns, more tanks and more missiles. That's part of the attraction for some young Muslims, and they've found joining ISIS is simple. We watched in December as Syrian refugees crossed into Turkey by climbing through this wire border fence. Then these 3 men, who locals told us were fighters, slipped past us and into the war zone. Intelligence officials worry that young European Muslims who've been recruited by ISIS could be ticking time bombs when they return. And Scott, they could also be a threat to America because those who carry British and some other European passports can enter the US without a visa.
Holly Williams reporting on ISIS for us tonight. Thank you, Holly.